Welcome to today's class. Today we are going to look at a question on, it has a combination of time value of money and a combination of time value of money and a topic called capital budgeting. So we are going to use this card paper for us to be able to look at this question. We're also going to extend our lesson just a little bit. So this is a card question. Question 1, you can see you're told to explain 4 important managerial finance functions. I think we have repeated this question several times. State 4 ways in which agency conflict between shareholders and management can be resolved. We have also repeated this question as well. So this is topic 1. Kindly go through the PowerPoint document so that you can be able to answer question 1, because my focus will be on question 2, and we're also going to look at different aspects of question 2 as well. So Alf Limited has approached you for advice on an investment project. Alf Limited has approached you for advice on an investment project that the company intends to undertake from 1st January 2019. The investment will involve an initial capital of 1.4 million shillings, and expected annual net cash flows are given below. So we have a company here that has approached you for advice on a certain investment project, and the initial capital, that is the capital that they want to use so that they can do the investment, is 1.4 million. So they want to do an investment of 1.4 million capital. Then we have an expected annual net cash flows. This means that in the first year, they're expecting to have a net cash flow. This is the cash flow of 800,000. So after they invest 1.4 million, the first year they have an expectation of 800,000 shillings. Then you have in the second year to the 8th year, they are expecting to make 750,000. And this is annually, and expected annual net cash flows. It means that this investment is going to give them 750,000 from the second year of investment, the third year, the fourth year, the fifth year, up to the 8th year, 750,000. From the 9th year to the 12th year, the net cash flows expected is 0. A dash means that there is no expectation, so they are not expecting to make any cash flow from the 9th year to the 12th year. In the 13th year of the project to the 18th year, they're expecting to make 600,000, meaning that The 13th year, they'll make 600,000. 14th year, 15th, up to the 18th year. 19th year to infinity, that means that from the 19th year to when the to infinity means as long as the project will exist. So maybe the project will exist up to maybe the 30th year, or maybe the 20th year, maybe the 25th year. But from the 19th year to infinity, now the project will be stable. They are expecting to be making 500,000 every year. The projected net cash flows are expected to be realized at the end of each year. The discount rate is 12% per annum. This is the rate of return. So they are expecting a rate of return of 12% per annum. So you're required to calculate the total present value of the project and the net present value of the project. The total present value of the project and the net present value of the project. So we want to know what is the present value of the project if these are the cash flows. And now what is the net present value of the project? So when you're given this kind of a question, there is a way you're supposed to do it. Yeah. So the first year, we have a net cash flow of 800,000. So you're going to say 800,000 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12%. 12% is the discount rate. So you'll always be given the discount rate per 1 because it's the first year over 12%. So 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is 2 power 1 over 12% for you to be able to get the first year. So whatever you get in the brackets, you multiply by 800,000 for you to get 714. $286. So from the second year to the 8th year, we have the net cash flow as 750,000. So we are going to say 750,000 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 8. So we use this power divide by 12% minus 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 1. So we are going to subtract these. So that's why we are using power 1. So the only issue that normally comes here, don't make a mistake of subtracting the second year. We are going to subtract the first year so that you can be able to get the present value. And kindly, if you have shared the class link to somebody, it is good that you notify me so that I can be able to add that person to the class. So let's proceed. 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 8 over 12%. So you work out this first, you can call it a bracket, or this first part. You just use your calculator. 12% is 0.12. When you calculate it well, you're supposed to get 4.9676. So, and this one should give you the same answer as this one, so it will be 0.8929. So you subtract 4.9676 minus 0.8929. Whatever you get, you multiply by 750,000. Year 2 to year 8, you're supposed to get this. So we are going to do another example, so kindly follow. We have year 9 to 12. There is no cash flow. So here we did not have any money. We are not expecting any money. So it means that we'll have 0 as our net cash flow. Then you're going to say 1 minus 1 over 12% is to power 12. This 12. Divide by 12% again. 12% is our discount rate. Minus 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 8. So here we have 9 to 12. But the previous year it was 2 to 8. So we pick this last one. So we have power 8 over 12%. And of course, whatever we get here, even if we subtract here, for example, it was 10 minus 3, 7, then 7 times 0. It will just give you 0. So we have year 13 to year 18 as our next year. 13 to 18. You take 600,000 as our net cash flow into bracket 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 18 over 12%, minus 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 12. 12 for the previous year. Then over 12%. First part 7.25. Second part 6.1942. Subtract the 2, then you multiply by 600,000. You're supposed to get 633 480. So from year 19 to infinity, that is our last year, 19 to infinity, we have it as 500,000. So we are going to say 500,000 into bracket. So the first part will be a bit different because we have infinity. We are going to say 1 over the discount rate. So our discount rate is 12% per annum. So we are going to say 1 over 12% minus, the second part will be 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 18. This one over 12%, the discount rate. So we'll have it as, when you subtract the two, we're supposed to get 1.0833. You multiply by 500,000 for you to have 541,667. So when you're asked about the total present value, you're going to add all the answers that you have in each and every step. 7, 14, 26 plus 30, 56 plus 0 plus 633, 480 plus 541, 667 for you to have the total present value as 49, 45, 458. That is our total present value. So I want to reach up to net present value, then you can ask any question that you have. So for net present value, we normally take the total present value minus the initial capital of the project. So net present value is equals to total present value minus initial capital outlay. So our total present value is 49, 45, 458 minus the initial capital for the project. Initial capital is 1.4 million. So minus 1.4 million, you're supposed to get the net present value, which is this one. So total present value, add everything minus everything, total present value. Net present value, take the total present value minus the initial capital. So the only trick here is just to understand that we are going to take the net cash flow, which is 750,000, then 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 8, this divided by 12%, minus 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power the previous. We are not going to say power 2, but power the previous. So unless there is a question on that, so that you can go to another example. Any question? So we can look at another example, then we do a question. I think we can do that question. So this one is a bit tiny, but I hope you can be able to see something. So the concept is still the same, but now here we have year 1 to year 3, year 4 to year 7, year 8 to 12. Then we have the net cash flows. This one is 100,000, 150,000 and 250,000. So you're given such kind of a question and you've been told to calculate the total present value. So you have not been given the initial capital, so hapa hatujaulizwa initial capital, so we are calculating the total present value. So we have said what you basically do, we start with year 1 to year 3. So for year 1 to year 3, we are going to say 100,000 into bracket 1 minus 1 over, so here the discount rate, is 8% per annum. So it means that here it is 1.08 because you are going to use 1 plus 8%. So here we were saying, let me take you back a little bit. Here we were saying 1 plus 12% is 2 power 12. So 1 plus 12%. So in this other question it is 1 plus 8%. 8 when you divide by 100 is 0.08. So 1 plus 8% is 1.08. So that is what has been used in this case. So 1.08 divided by the 8%. 8% is 0.08. So that means that this bracket, when you calculate it, when you solve it using a calculator, it should give you 2.5771. When you multiply it by 100, it should give you 257,710. Then we come to step 2. Here we have year 4, 5, 6 and 7. So we are going to use 150,000 into bracket 1 minus 1 over 1.08 again, but now we are going to use power 7 minus 1 minus 1 over 1.08 power 3. So power 7, power 3, not power 4. So we use this one, we subtract this one. So from there, 5.2064 minus 2.5771, when you subtract the 2 and you multiply by 150,000, you are supposed to get 395. Then you come to step 3. In step 3 we have year 8 to year 12. So the present value will be 250,000. 1 minus 1 over 1.08 power 12, this one, over 0.08 minus 1 minus 1 over 1.08. So you can see a question, I explain how I'm getting 1.08. So the concept here is 8%. So this one is just 1 plus 8%. 8% is the rate. So instead of saying 1 plus 8%, like here we were using the rate of, let me just repeat. So here we were using the rate of 12%. So we were saying 1 plus 12%. But in this other question, we are using 8%. So that's why we are saying 1 plus 8% will give us 1.08. That is how we are getting 1.08. So for 12%, still use the same. 250,000 into bracket 1 minus 1 over 1.08 is to power 12 over 0.08. 0.08 stands for 8% because we have been told to use the rate of 8%. So you solve it here, the first bracket, second bracket, subtract the 2, multiply by 250,000, get 582,425. Add everything, the total present value. So you're going to add step 1, 257,710, step 2, 394,395, step 3, 582,425. The total present value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 0. And if you were given the initial capital, we could have subtracted minus the initial capital, and then we get the net present value. That is how you do that question. Is there any question so that we can solve a question here? So if there is no question, leo ni kama holiday imekuwa mzuri, hakuna maswali. So I want us to do a question, then I'll show you other different examples, so that just in case the question is twisted a little bit, you're supposed to be in a position to do it. And this one, the rate is just 8% again. What do we do? Let us just use it. So XY Limited is intending to undertake a project whose net cash flow are given below. The company's cost of capital is 8% per annum. Net cash flow are expected to be these. So we have here 1 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 12, and then you're asked, we have the net cash flows. Calculate the total present value of these net cash flows. So we have been asked to calculate the total present value. So I want us to do it right now. In the next 10 minutes, we are supposed to be done, so that we can proceed with the other sectors. So we are starting with year 1. I hope you have your pen and your book and your calculator as well. So we are starting with year 1 to 3. Then you have year 4 to 7. So year 1 to 3, the net cash flow is 200,000. Year 4 to 7, we have 250,000. Then we have year 8 to 12, 350,000. So the rate that we are using, I don't know, do we change the rate or we use this? What if we use 9%? Kindly let us use the rate of 9% per annum. Let us use 9% per annum. So I want us to start with step 1. Then you go to step 2. So you can start it. This one, and we are using 9% as the rate. Okay. So if you get your answer for step 1, you can just write it in the in-call messages. So that we can see we are in the same page. Oh, I can see that step 1, 506 to 59, 506 to 59. Tayari umemaliza yote. So ensure you have 506 to 59 for step 1. Can see someone has already finished. So let us try to be a bit fast. Jared, you can be looking at this. If you are done, you can be looking at this other illustration. Maybe you can screenshot these two. You can screenshot this and this. $800. 0, 1.2. This one is 10M. Yes. Yes, find that. Yeah, it's 10%. 10% is 1. Let me see. Yeah, use 10%. Yeah, try and see if you can be able to do this. So step 2, 625, 425, depending on the 420, I can see 421, 488, depending on the number of decimal places. So step 2, if you have 625, 425 or 426, or we can also use 488, but it is good to use 4 significant figures. So you are still on the right track. So for step 3, I can see 744, 721. I can also see 744, 730, 744, 711. You are still on the right track because of the decimal places. For total present value, I can see 1876, 468, 1876, 396. You can still use that. So I think now when you're told to calculate total present value, you can be able to do it. So we can proceed. So there's this illustration illustration 2, where you're supposed to calculate the present value for year 1 to year 5, 800,000, year 6 to 7, 0, then year 10, 1.2, year 11 to infinity. We're going to use that. So year 1 to 5, we're going to say 1 minus 1 over, so here the rate we are using 10%. So we are going to say 1 minus 1 over 1 plus 10% is 2 power 5 over 10%. 10% is the same as 0.1. Then you get that. For the second year, year 6 to 9, it is 0. So whatever you multiply, you're going to get 0. Year 10. So for year 10, we are going to say 1.2 million times 1 over 1 plus 10% is 2 power 10. So we will have this. And for year 11 to infinity, you can use the method that I've shown you. Yes. Yes. Over 1 plus 10%. Yes. Yes. The other formula for 1 minus 1. That's a nice question. Who can tell us? So for year 10 here, we have used a different one. Why have we done that? And it will maybe you can check on your end, because I have two gadgets here and I can see the screen. So Mark, what do you think? Because I've started to think otherwise. Okay. Caroline, kindly. Oh, okay. So don't be lost, because I think we are going to change something in the first question. Because when you're given 1 year, the present value should change. The PVIF, because here we are using PVIF for 1 year. Are you getting the concept? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we deduct year 9. So here the difference is that you see here we were talking about several years. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So this one is okay because they were several years. Actually, where I can see that concept applying is not even here. It is here in year 1. Are we together? So I think what we should change here, yes? So when it comes to several years, we are going to use this formula. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, hivyo. So that we can get what we call PVAF. It is called present value of annuity factor. PVAF. Those ones who know PVAF. So PVAF. So it is just that in KU we are not given a table. If it was a professional course, unapewa tu table unaangalia. So hapa hatupewi table. So that's why we have to use the longer route. So this one is okay for several years. But now when it comes to 1 year, kama hapa, because here we have been given the net cash flow for 1 year. Mwaka tu moja. So for 1 year, that is when we will apply this concept. So itakuwa 1.2 times 1 over 1 plus 10% is to power 10. So that will be our step 3. Yes. Yes, yes, we must change. Lazima tutumie hii. In short, what I'm saying, we must change because it is 1 year. The first example, but this one is okay because this one we have several years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 12. Iko sawa. This one we must change here. Exactly. That is what I'm saying. We use this. Because it is 1 year. So that must change. But for the others, it will still remain for the other years. But from, yes? From year 11 to infinity, so I think I'm going to send another document with that correction. But the concept still remains. For several years, we use this formula. For 1 year, like here we have the 10th year, we are going to use this one. From year 11 to infinity, that one remains. So here we have used 1 million over 0.1, which is the same as it is the same as this one. Year 19 to infinity. So year 19 to infinity, we are using 500,000, 1 over 12%. So we can still use the same here. It will be 1 million into bracket, yes, Mhm. 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 Ay, how comes? Okay, so let's see. So we are saying we use 800,000 times 1 over 1 plus 12% is to power 1. Or is it because we have used 1 year? That one. Yeah, I can see it's 0.8929. So does it mean that we stick with that? So, so is it possible that you try the same formula for this one we see? And then, but for this one you have to subtract. Sasa itakuwaje? Because this one is only for 1 year. It means that you're not going to subtract anything. Yeah. Basi itakuwa the same bado. So it means that here we are not going to subtract anything because it's for 1 year. So itakuwa power 10. Let's see. Itakuwa different. What if you subtract power 9? I hope we are together. Ama tumepoteza kila mtu. We are just discussing on this part. Minus their 9. Then that is okay. That is good. So we are good. So it means that we are safe. So this concept is okay. And even if you use the same concept on this question, it's okay as well. So 11 to infinity here, there is no problem, you can just use this one. So the workings are there, you can check them out. So let me go to this. This one is also, the question can be twisted like this. You are given the following net cash flows relating to project Q. Year 1, 20,000, year 2, 20,000, year 3, 20,000, year 4, 20, year 5, 20, and year 6, 20. Then you have year 7 to 15, 40,000. So when you're given such kind of a question and the discount rate is 9%, from year 1 to 6, the present value that we are using, so the net cash flows are the same. So you're going to say 20,000, 1 minus 1 over 1.09, which is 1 plus 9%, is to power 6 over 0.09. So you're not just going to use for each and every year. So you can combine from year 1 to 6 because the cash flows are the same. Then use this method. For you to get year 1 to year 6, we have 89,718. Year 7 to 15, we still use the same method. 40,000, 1 minus 1 over 1.07 to power 15 over 0.09 minus 1 minus 1 over 1.09 is to power 6. So we use this one, power 6. Subtract the 2 for you to get the total present value. Add step 1 and step 2 for us to get the total present value. Then part 2, you're also given the following projected net cash flow. We have year 1 to 10 and then 11 to infinity, and you're supposed to use 12% per annum. So determine the present value. Year 1 to 10, we use 32,000, 1 minus 1 over 1.12. So this is 1 plus 12% is to power 10 over 0.12. That is our step 1. Step 2, we have 25,000. So for infinity, we have said we are going to use 1 over 0.12, which is the discount rate, this one, minus power 10 for us to be able to finish up step 2. Subtract, multiply by 25,000, then add the 2 for you to get the total present value. And that is how you're supposed to work out that question. So there are several examples here. I hope you can be able to get time. I'll share with you this document. Kindly get time and look at all these questions on your own so that you can be able to answer this question. In case you find it in the cart, you will be in a better position to do it. So if there is no other question, I was hoping that you can go to something else, but I think maybe you can create time. I'm really hoping maybe first week of July we can start our marathon classes morning and evening, because financial management is very long and there are several topics that you are supposed to cover before you sit for your cards. So we will start the morning evening classes for specifically financial management. The other units are okay, but for financial management, we have to put an extra effort for at least a week. If we put an extra effort for 1 week, then we'll be good to go. So kindly check out this question, and unless there's a question or a clarification, okay, so all the video lectures have been uploaded in our Telegram group, and I'll also upload this before I sleep. This one will be uploaded so that you can have it, and I'll be able to share these notes immediately after the lesson. So kindly, whatever we learn, make sure that you practice it, because we have a long way to go, and we will need to look at different aspects. So thank you so much for your time. Let's meet tomorrow for our economics class. Thank you so much. Have a good night.